Okay, so that was Mr. Sindhya. Let's get some perspective going then. Mark Martin, member of Royal Aeronautical Society and the founder and CEO at Martin Consulting is with us. Mark, thank you very much. Good morning. So I think the question on everyone's mind is, of course, this is historic. We've all seen a piece of history play out right in front of us. But the task ahead. So as the Tatas look to sort of, start the restructuring, the change of culture, first up in the first year, do you see a lot of additional significant cash outgo to set the house in order? I mean, what will the first steps be?
Good morning, Surbi. Clearly a week of celebration and a weekend of partying, actually, for a lot of people at aviation. The interesting part about where we are with Air India is that it goes back into an organization that created it, that fundamentally defined its DNA. So the Tatas know what's best for Air India because they ran it themselves till 1978. Now, when it goes back to the Tatas, we're obviously talking about an organization that has been far more formidable with turning around its own businesses that have been possibly in a worse state than what Air India is at the moment. Tata Steel was a recovery of 60,000 crores and they projected 25 years to bring it back online in 1998, right? And they turned it around in 10 years at a total cost of 8,000 CR. Similarly, with Telco, from being a truck maker, they've transitioned now to some pretty good world-class cars and also in turn owning Jaguar Land Rover and redefining automotive standards globally. So, we're talking about the Tatas, running Air India predominantly as an international airline, what they were back in the day. Air India was an international airline. It took India globally. It reinforced India's global standard, right? So that is what we will see. And I think if you really look at it, I mean, turning around Air India is going to be a walk in the park for Tatas because one is they're deep-pocketed. They're not going to really need severe funding because they can fund it themselves. And traditionally, I think we all know the Tatas have always gone the IPO route when they've needed to raise capital.
Absolutely.
So don't be surprised if we see an IPO coming up very, very soon.
Okay, well, Mark, that is a given, right? The Tatas have already decided to sort of streamline operations, overhaul the entire operating model of Air India, cut costs, etc. What does this mean for the other players like Indigo and SpiceJet? I mean, the Tata Group now cumulatively owns 25% of the space, of the market share. Does this mean more competition? And, for a shareholder who perhaps has stock of Indigo, SpiceJet, should they be concerned?
Morning, Sonia. Not entirely, because I think what's going to happen here is the Tatas are going to be more as a rainmaker, right? So when you're going to drive international traffic, I think for the first time in 40 years of our aviation, we will see a true hub model being created with India being that global hub. So the Tatas are going to really take back Africa, the market they lost to Gulf carriers. They're going to, get back into places like Brazil and Sao Paulo and Rio. So that's going to really stir up new markets. The Air India under the Tatas is going to go into where the global Indian diaspora is. So we're going to see a whole new network. Now, with that, I think we've got to be clear that airlines like Vistara and AirAsia are really not going to be conflicting and confrontational. And so is Indigo and SpiceJet, because once you start creating this huge monolith international network again, it's trickle-down effect with traffic and and interline agreements and partnerships with local airlines will obviously be important. So I see that as a key driver here. And the Air India that we will see under the Tatas is going to be very similar to how we see Lufthansa Group AG. So you've got a Lufthansa, which also owns an Austrian airline, and also owns a Swiss Air, and also owns a low-cost airline like German Wings and Sun Express with Turkish Airlines in Turkey. So this clearly is going to be a product for all tiers, for all levels, and aimed at driving revenue, which will be in the case in foreign exchange because Air India is an international airline.
Mark, I'm going to sort of, my last question to you is going to be a little more market focused because we're getting into the opening right now. I think for a lot of stock investors, while they watch the larger story play out and, board the airline and experience the new Tata Air India, whatever it's going to be called, The question here is that for the domestic market, do you see immediate disruption in the coming 6 months to 12 months in terms of market share on domestic routes? Or should we expect that that won't be the case? Tatas will take it slow and focus on the international routes?
Precisely, Surabhi. I think that's what's going to be. They will focus on international initially because that's an area that Air India has always lacked on, right? So they will, regain and take back what belongs to them rightfully. And on a domestic front, there is going to be some level of competition. Eventually, the consumer and the traveler wins in this. But it's not. But as we know with the Tatas, they've never really been confrontational and price war driven. So this will be a far more mature, aggressive, an Air India with sharper teeth. And this is going to be an Air India that's going to pretty much give everybody space to thrive, because no longer is this going to be run by government or bureaucracy, but by a long-term 30-year vision of the Tata. So I think that's going to be pretty good and really nothing much to worry about. There will be some level of stabilization with some of the more weaker airlines calling it today. Akasa is going to be coming up very soon. So the market is going to get very interesting. Go Air's IPO is planned for the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So pretty positive.
Okay, Martin, we'll leave it there today. Thanks a lot for joining us.